You're chained in the dark belly of a ship, rats scurrying over your feet. The stench of rotting flesh and human waste burns your nostrils. Iron shackles cut into your wrists with every roll of the waves. But here's the twist. You weren't captured. You chose this life. You signed your name on the pirate articles with a steady hand. You swore the oath. You took the cutlass and the promise of gold. 3 weeks in, you're wondering if freedom was worth trading your soul. The question that haunts every pirate isn't whether they'll find treasure. It's whether they'll live long enough to spend it. And whether the man who walks off this ship will be the same one who walked on. Make no mistake, this isn't a story about adventure. It's about the price of rebellion, and you're about to learn that price gets paid in blood. The tavern tales made it sound like paradise. Endless treasure chests overflowing with Spanish gold. Brotherhood on the high seas, where every man had a voice and a vote. Freedom from the king's laws and the merchant's greed. You were running from something worse. Maybe it was the Royal Navy, where flogging was breakfast entertainment and the cat-o'-nine tails kept better time than any ship's bell. Maybe it was merchant service, where captains worked you 18 hours a day for scraps, while they dined on fresh meat and wine. Black sailors found higher status at sea than they'd ever have on land, where the colour of their skin meant chains instead of wages. But here's the reality check. You're trading one prison for another. The only difference is better marketing. Your hammock swings inches from 20 other men in perpetual dampness. The ship creaks and groans like a dying animal, and you've learned to sleep through sounds that would have terrified you on land. But sleep is a luxury you can't afford. The air down here is thick enough to choke on. Unwashed bodies, human waste, and the sweet stench of infection create a fog that burns your lungs. You breathe through your mouth, but that just makes you taste it. Breakfast is rancid salt pork crawling with maggots, if you're lucky. Some days it's hard tack so infested with weevils that you learn to eat in the dark. The water tastes like it was filtered through a corpse, because it probably was. Scurvy creeps up on you like a thief. First your gums start bleeding when you bite down, then your teeth loosen in their sockets. Your old wounds reopen without warning, and new ones refuse to heal. Men who looked healthy yesterday collapse today, their bodies betraying them, one organ at a time. Dysentery means you're lucky to sleep 2 hours without stumbling to the rail. The ship's head is a plank with a hole, suspended over the ocean. In rough seas, using it becomes an extreme sport, where losing your grip means drowning in your own waste. Every minor cut becomes a death sentence through infection. The ship's surgeon, if you're lucky enough to have one, treats everything with rum and prayer, usually just the rum. Sleep deprivation drives men to madness faster than isolation. You watch the quartermaster lose his mind mid-watch, screaming at seabirds he thinks are his dead mother. Mutiny plots are born in these delirious moments, when exhaustion makes violence seem reasonable. Yet somehow, when a merchant ship appears on the horizon, everything changes. The same men who were ready to kill each other over mouldy bread suddenly move like a machine. The promise of plunder transforms dying pirates into predators. That's when you remember why you chose this hell. Not for the gold, for the moment when terror becomes power. And if you're picturing Captain Jack Sparrow stumbling around with eyeliner and rum, forget it. Real pirates didn't get Disney scripts. Speaking of things Hollywood never told you, make sure you're subscribed, because the truth behind these myths is darker and stranger than anything in the movies. The black flag snaps in the wind like a death sentence made of silk. You watch it rise up the mast, and something primal stirs in your chest. This isn't just fabric. It's psychological warfare refined to an art form. Some captains design custom flags. Blackbeards showed a skeleton toasting the devil. The message was clear: surrender or join the skulls. More often than not, they surrender without firing a shot. That's the genius of terror. Why waste gunpowder and risk your crew when reputation does the killing for you. When the white flag goes up on their main mast, your heart pounds like a war drum. This is the moment that makes everything worthwhile. The treasure chests crack open like eggs, spilling gold and silver across the deck. Spanish pieces of 8 catch the sunlight and throw it back like fallen stars. Silk from Asia slides through your fingers like liquid wealth. You've never seen this much money in one place. Hell, you've never seen this much money in your entire life. The captain promised fair shares, and for once, a promise gets kept. Even the lowest crew member walks away with more coin than a merchant sailor sees in 5 years. But the pirate code has teeth, and they're sharp as any cutlass. When someone breaks the rules, democracy becomes a death sentence. You vote on punishments the same way you vote on everything else. But now you're deciding how creatively a man should die. Marooning sounds merciful until you understand what it really means. They don't just leave you on a beach. They choose an island that disappears at high tide. They give you a pistol with 1 shot. Not for the rescue, but for when the crabs start eating you alive. Some crews get artistic. They'll sew a man into a sail and drag him behind the ship until the sharks take notice. The captain who promised equality now holds absolute power over life and death. When someone challenges his authority, the vote isn't whether he's right. It's how long the challenger should scream before he stops. Half your crew never wanted this life. Forced recruitment means pressing men from captured ships, and desperate men make dangerous allies. Every victory plants seeds of betrayal among your brothers. The bigger the haul, the more reason someone has to slit your throat for your share. You start counting the men who know where you hide your gold. Then you start counting the men who might kill those men to learn your secrets. Paranoia becomes a survival skill. You watch your back during battles and your front during celebrations. The man who saved your life yesterday might be planning to end it tonight. Every toast to freedom ended with a hand on your knife in the dark. The brotherhood you joined for was real, but it only lasted as long as the gold held out. When the treasure runs low, democracy dies first. And then the horizon blinks, a speck of canvas, and despair remembers it once had teeth. The British Navy turns pirate hunting into a blood sport, and you're the fox. What started as occasional patrols becomes a systematic extermination campaign. Every harbour now flies the Union Jack, and every captain carries orders to hang pirates on sight. Your safe harbours disappear like morning fog. Nassau was paradise once, a pirate republic where stolen goods flowed like water and no questions got asked. Now, British warships blockade the harbour, and Governor Rogers offers pardons with one hand while building gallows with the other. Tortuga, Madagascar, the hidden coves of the Caribbean. The pirate ports that once welcomed your stolen goods now slam their doors shut. Port authorities who used to take bribes now take heads. The network that kept you alive is unravelling, and every severed connection brings the noose closer to your neck. Former allies sell you out for pardons and rewards. The quartermaster who shared his rum becomes the witness who identifies you in court. The captain who taught you to read the stars points them out to naval officers hunting your ship. When they finally catch you, the trial is theatre, not justice. Your fate was decided before you entered the courtroom. The judge wears his black cap like a crown, and the jury looks at you like you're already a ghost. They read charges that sound like someone else's life, but the name is yours, and the rope fits your neck. Hanging becomes public entertainment with sermons and moral lessons. They want you to confess, to repent, to warn other young men away from the pirate life. Some do. They stand on the scaffold and beg God's forgiveness while the crowd cheers their redemption. Others go out cursing. You curse God from the gallows, then pray to him in the same breath. The contradiction doesn't matter when you're measuring your life in heartbeats. Blasphemy and prayer become the same desperate act, reaching for something bigger than the rope around your neck. Your rotting corpse gets displayed at harbour entrances as a warning. They coat you in tar to preserve the lesson, hanging you in chains that rattle with every wind. Ships entering port see your remains and remember that piracy has consequences. The few who escape face a choice that's no choice at all. Hide forever or die slowly on land. A few, like James Brown, rewrote their story so well they sat on councils instead of scaffolds, going from accused pirate to Pennsylvania council member and the governor's son-in-law. But most discovered the sea has marked them permanently. The skills that kept you alive, reading weather, fighting with cutlass and pistol, commanding desperate men, make you unemployable in civilization. You're too dangerous for honest work, and too notorious for dishonest work. The treasure you fought for becomes a curse. Every coin carries your face on wanted posters. Every jewel connects you to a crime that someone, somewhere, remembers. You can't spend it without risking your life. So you bury it and hope someone worthy finds it after you're gone. So what was the real treasure all along? Not gold, not glory, not the brotherhood they promised in those smoky taverns. The radical experiment in floating democracy lasted barely a decade. From 1716 to 1726, pirates tried to build something different on the waves. A world where every man had a voice. Racial equality existed only because survival demanded it. When you're facing down a Spanish galleon, no one cares what colour the man next to you is. You care if he can fight. The moment the danger passed, so did the equality. Pragmatism dressed up as progress. When the treasure chests stayed empty and the merchant ships grew scarce, your democratic pirates turned into desperate men with sharp knives and shorter tempers. Scurvy, dysentery, and infection killed more pirates than all the naval battles combined. The few who lived faced a lifetime of looking over their shoulders. Every stranger could be a bounty hunter. Every friend could be an informant. Freedom meant never sleeping in the same place twice and never trusting anyone completely. Freedom wasn't treasure. It was the illusion that kept you sailing toward death. The promise that somewhere beyond the horizon lay a life worth the suffering. But horizons are just lines where the sky meets the sea. They exist only as long as you don't get close enough to see the truth. But here's the twist that changes everything. The myth outlived the men. Tavern ballads turned your suffering into songs of rebellion. Your rotting corpse became a symbol of resistance. Black flags that once struck terror now inspire revolution. The legend of pirate freedom became bigger than the reality of pirate death. Long after the last pirate swung from execution dock, rebels who never saw the sea raised black flags against kings and corporations. The floating democracy that lasted 10 years helped fuel uprisings that shook empires. The skull and crossbones still marches, dorm rooms, protest lines, encrypted chat icons. You didn't find freedom on the high seas. You created the idea of freedom for everyone who came after. The real treasure was never gold. It was the con that convinced you freedom had no price. Pirates learned too late that liberty always costs more than you expect to pay, and the bill comes due when you least expect it. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the con was worth it. Not for the pirates who lived it, but for the rebels who inherited their black flags and turned symbols of terror into banners of hope. If pirate freedom was an illusion, wait until you see what medieval knights called honor. Subscribe if you want to see what other freedoms history sold at the cost of souls. You chose this life, history chose the myth. And if you're a fan of Monkey D. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates, ask Luffy. Every pirate story chases the same illusion of freedom, just told with brighter colours. But bright colours fade. And ask yourself, would you have chosen the same lie? Drop your answer in the comments.